All right, looks like we have a good crew on the webinar today. Let's dive right in. If we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name is Holly. I'm the Customer Success Manager for the Americas and Europe here at Giraffe. And I'm really excited to show off two of our newest features today. We're going to be taking a look at the content library and our brand new report builder. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the webinar, please drop them in the webinar chat. Um, and the webinar will be recorded and we'll post it to YouTube probably at the beginning of next week. So if you want to share what you saw today with any of your colleagues, drop over to our YouTube and just forward that link right along. And the last bit of housekeeping at the end of the webinar, if we have a little time left over, feel free to hang out after I turn off the recording. And if you'd like to ask any questions live, and it can be about what we talked about today or anything else having to do with Giraffe, just raise your hand and I can unmute you and we can chat a little bit at the end of the webinar. So with that out of the way, let's dive right in. Um, so today we're going to be taking a look at, like I said, the content library and the report builder. The content library is a really cool new feature that makes it a lot easier to find assets and items to fill out your Giraffe projects. So you're probably used to logging into Giraffe and it looks something like what you're seeing on my screen, pretty blank. You've got your default base map, you've got your 3D buildings layers, and not really much else going on. If you want to quickly add some pre-designed items to your map, you can pop into the content library, which is this book icon here on the left. And this is just chock full of uh, items that will help build out your projects. And it's everything from, Giraffe designs and usages to things like entourage, like people and trees to make your presentations look better, trucks, and even layer packs. And as we go along here, since this is a brand new feature, we have a lot of content in there, but we're going to continuously add to that content. And the more you use the content library, the more we know what kind of stuff you're looking for. So definitely dive in there, use the search feature, and start adding things to your next project. So if I was interested in adding um, maybe let's do an industrial building. If I search for industrial, it's going to add that as a search term here, and it's going to show me everything in the content library that meets those search terms. So I've got this whole industrial template. I have just some usages, and then I have a few items that are like pre-designed buildings. So that's one way to search through the content library. You can put in search terms. You can try things like tree, landscape. You can add multiple search terms and it'll add additional items that meet any of those search terms. So it's really flexible that way. And then the other way that you can start searching for content is by going to the tabs here and selecting a tab that looks interesting. So for instance, if I was looking for things to make my presentations look a little bit better, I'd go to the entourage tab and find things like people, trucks, trees, cars, all kinds of that kind of stuff. Whereas if I wanted to add some buildings or designs to my project, I might pop over to flows. And these are some pre-designed generative design algorithms. So for instance, I can drop down my wrap apartment. When I click on it, it's going to show me everything that is in that content pack that I'm going to add to my project. And I'll just click import. And now I have this building design added to my project. And I can start editing it to match my current site's specifications, just using the typical Giraffe tools. Another cool thing that's in the content library are some fully built out templates. And these templates are basically completed projects of different types. And when you add these to your project, you're going to get everything that you might possibly need. You're going to get geometry, usages, flows, analytics, and even a report. And when I import that, it just drops the whole thing onto my site. It might not be oriented to the north of the current project, so you can just grab everything and adjust. And the purpose of this is really to just give you an idea of what's possible in Giraffe. But if you find some of these designs useful, you can do things like maybe stretch them to fit your specific site by just using the typical Giraffe tools and just adjust as needed. If you signed up for our free trial, you got to explore one of these 6 templates as part of your onboarding. So you've maybe seen this one or one of the other 5 during that. So that is the content library. I'd love to hear from you if you have any suggestions or requests for things to add to the content library. We're always looking to add more to build it out even further and make it as useful as possible for you all. So depending on what level of account you have, you can reach out to us in various ways. If you're an enterprise customer, you can use our live chat feature. Just shoot us a chat. I'll get it in real time and you can say, hey, Holly, I'm looking for XYZ. If you are on a free trial or you're a core subscriber, we have a contact support form in the question mark in Giraffe. Feel free to fill out that form and just request some content. That's a great way to ask us to put something together for you. So either way is great. I'd love to hear your feedback and make that content library just as useful as possible. One preview for the content library as well. Folks on our enterprise plan will be able to add their own content to their organization's content library very soon. So right now, everything in the content library is curated by Giraffe. But soon, if you are in an enterprise account, you'll be able to add content to that library that only your organization has access to, the same sharing controls that you're used to, where you can share projects with teams or individuals or the whole workspace. So that content will be private to your enterprise workspace. It's not public to everyone who's on Giraffe. So you're not losing your IP in any way, but it's a really great way to share. Maybe you've done a cool building design, or maybe you've put together some different zoning constraints and things like that. Sharing them with the rest of your team through the content library is going to be a really great way to do that. If you are on an enterprise account and you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, just reach out to us through the live chat feature. We'd be happy to help. Great. And then the next thing that we'll take a look at here, the other new feature, is our brand new report builder. So when I brought in this project, it had a report already pre-built added into it. So we can see here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make it a little bit easier for you all to see, hopefully. So you can see this sort of pre-built report template here. It has things like images and text. And if you've used our old report builder, you probably know that it was very specific in how you could configure it. It had very specific margins and columns and things like that. The new report builder is super flexible. So if you're used to using something like a drag and drop editor online, maybe a Canva or something like that, you're going to be very familiar with this kind of interface. So for instance, maybe I want to add some text. We even have some fun sort of pre-built text elements here that you can drop right in. And then you can just double click on that, give your report information. This is 3501 Richmond Street, for instance. And you can place this anywhere you want. So it's completely drag and drop, completely editable in the way that you're probably used to. And there's even lots of different font options. So you can probably find the font that your company is using or one that is similar and really customize the appearance of that report to match your company's branding and everything that you might need. So I've got that fun text in there. And then maybe I want to add some information from my project as well. So I have here the ability to add analytics for my project. And these are the custom calculations that were built out in this project to match the metrics that go with these building types. And I'm just going to select a couple of these. So maybe I'm going to do costs, income, and feasibility. I can adjust the order that these come in by changing the order here. And once I've selected them, it might be an issue with me being zoomed in too far. There we go. Yep, just zoomed in too far. So I'm going to add my costs, my feasibility, and my income. And I'm going to add all of the columns from my project and just click add to document. And now I can zoom back in here so you can see it a little bit better. So that just dropped in these analytics calculations from my analytics tab. And now I have all of the numbers that are live updating from this project, also live updating in my report. So if I adjust anything about my building here, like maybe giving it a few more levels, you're going to see the numbers are going to change live with the project. So this is really great because it's kind of set it and forget it. So build out your report, make it look beautiful, perfect, have all of your sort of templated analytics built in, and then just build your project. And as you build your project, your report is automatically going to build out for you as you go. The other thing that you would want to do for your report is probably have some views saved. So we have some cool new functionality with views as well to go along with this new report builder. So I'm going to jump into views here. It's the camera icon here on the left. And create a new view. I'll just move this panel over so we can see a little bit better what's going on here. And here I am setting the scale for this view on create. So actually what I want to do is make my grid align with my project a little bit better because this is Philly and our grid is not north-south, so it's a little bit hard that way. But there we go. I've got this now realigned in a way that makes sense. And because I'm in a 2D view, I can set a scale. So I can select the scale I want from the list here, and it's going to show me sort of the paper size around that. So I can see at letter size, if I have this set to 1 inch equals 100 feet, that's how much of the letter size it's going to take up. Maybe I want it to be more like that, but I want it on a larger piece of paper. There we go. And I'm just going to click continue. It's going to create that high res screenshot, and then I can give this a name like top view. Once I have that view saved, it's going to show in my layers panel. So if you haven't, or in my views panel, excuse me. So if you haven't used views before, they are really nice because it saves a sort of state of your map. So it saves all the layers as they're turned on. It saves the camera angle. And when I click on this view, it pops my map back to how I had it set when I saved it. So that's one great use case for views, is just saving your favorite sort of vistas in a project. But with the new report builder, you also have some additional functionality with those views where I can add those views to my project, to my report, and it's going to come in to scale by default. And I can just, of course, scale this down as I need. But now that this is not to scale, I don't know what size these things actually are. So if you click on this, you'll see that it has this scale bar tool here. And what that's going to do is just add a nice graphical scale to the view. And this scale bar is going to be sized so that it matches the view correctly. And you can just include that with each of your scaled 2D views. And it'll update live with this view. And you can, you know, as you go through and add your different views, you'll have all of that scaling on there. So all of your, classic architectural presentation tools, you've got those scales there to help tell that story. There's other fun things in the report builder as well. It comes with all kinds of you know, just generic photos. So if you just want to make your report look really pretty, add some fun backgrounds, that's always a possibility. You can play with just colors in the background. There's some really fun stuff in there. Maybe you want it to look, really pretty and sort of fantastical. You've got some options in there, or maybe this sunset is more your vibe. Those are all really fun for setting your backgrounds. And then of course you can change it back to white. And there's also elements. So if you wanted to, put a big star on here and be like, this is the one you should look at, boss. It's the one with the star on it. You can add those just like you would typically find in any of your drag and drop editors. Lots of really cool shapes in there, just to add some more sort of design elements to your reports as well. So super customizable, fully drag and drop, and it combines your giraffe elements and anything that you might want to add to it that's built into the report, to make your full presentation really sing. Once you have the report all set up and you're happy with it, it's just a one click to download, and it'll download that multi-page PDF to wherever you typically download things on your desktop. And then you can just send that along to whoever you would like. And it's a super easy way to share your project with stakeholders, make sure you have all the information attached that you need to, and have it look really, really presentation ready. So that is the content library and the new report builder, sort of the, 9,000 foot view. I highly encourage you to start playing around with these new tools. Content library is preloaded on all of your projects. When you start up a new project in Giraffe, you'll have the book there. The report builder you have to add from the App Store. So typically when you open up your Giraffe project, it's going to look like this, where it has urban or analytics on the side. So if you want to add report builder, just click the plus here and just search for report builder in the list of apps, and it'll be right there for you. So yeah, looking forward to hearing your feedback, seeing what you all come up with. I hope these two things are really helpful for helping you get your project's presentation ready and making sure that you have all of the information you need included. And with that, that kind of concludes our presentation of our two new features today. So we looked at content library, we looked at how to search through it, what types of content are in there, and then how to add that content to our projects. And then we took a look at the new report builder and all of its drag and drop functions, different text options, how to save views at a certain scale and add a scale bar, and how to download that report when you're finished. Um, so with that, thank you so much for joining us today. I will uh, stop the recording, and if anyone hanging out on the call would like to ask any questions live, just please feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you, or you can just type it in the webinar chat if you don't want to talk out loud. That's fine too. So I am going to stop the recording now.